So let's take a look at your barriers exercise. Get a sense of what the source of it is. And I think Scott gave a really great example of kind of the way we see the barriers. The barriers, or the source of the barrier, is located in an individual, in a group, in an area. And that's a valid way to look at it and an appropriate way to look at it. And I suspect if we were to study, what I would say happened with Scott is they had some different types of conversations with people, and what's missing in those places are certain types of conversations, which if those conversations were present, that stuff wouldn't be happening. So that's the kind of thing, because look, I'm not going to do anything to Charles. Charles is Charles. I'm not all of a sudden going to rewire his brain, change his attitude, change his values and beliefs and all that kind of stuff. But the only thing I can do is have a conversation with Charles. It's about the only thing I can do. I can threaten him, but that's a conversation. I can promise he's going to get all kinds of rewards and goodies, but that's a conversation. I can do a bunch of things, and they're all going to come through a conversation. But as we're going to see, not all conversations are the same. They don't all do the same thing. And that becomes part of the issue that becomes available for us. What if the relationship, what if building an effective working relationship and getting the results you want is not about them or about you? What if it is about the conversations that are being had between the parties? What if it really is a product of that? Then you're free to bring you to work. All I have to deal with are the conversations that you and I are having. You and I have no prayer of understanding all the ways that somebody is put together psychologically, social psychologically, sociologically, anthropologically, geologically, biologically, neurochemically, or any of the other ones. I mean, when you really think of it, what you and I are up against on a practical day-to-day level is incredible. The only thing I have is my ability to interact with you now. And so when you look at your barriers, if you get at your barriers, how many of you had lateness as an issue? And about where is it for you? What I want to get a sense of is where you all are, so I know when we get further into this where we want to have particular attention. So where are most of you with regard to lateness? Frequently. So 3 and above. Most of you are at 3 or above. Okay, some of you are below that, but 3 or above, okay. And poor quality work, where are we on poor quality work? Frequently. Okay, great. And difficult people. You probably don't have frequent difficult people, but you probably have a few people who are frequently difficult, right? I mean, that's kind of a... So where are you on the difficult, uncooperative people kind of thing? How often do you experience that? Seldom. Yeah, and those seldom ones, though, are they pretty reliable? The ones that are difficult and uncooperative, they're pretty much reliably difficult and uncooperative. So if I understand it, I've got a few people who are difficult and uncooperative, and when they're difficult and uncooperative, they're reliably difficult and uncooperative. Okay. Lack of teamwork. How are you on that one? Frequently. Breakdowns in people coordinating and checking and that kind of stuff. Okay, great. Work overload. It's more of a personal one for you. How are you on? Where are you on that one? Always. 4. It's on 4. So 3 and above again there. Okay, great. Insufficient resources and support. Frequently. 5. So most of 3 and above kind of captures that. Poor planning. Frequently on that one. Okay, so on just that part, now What did you say about why? So if you'd be willing to offer up some of the whys. Why is that? I believe this happens because. What did you say? When you look across your list, now here's one of the things I want you to look at. How many of them on there are specifically related to the conversations you're having or not having, and that's the reason why you have that problem? That is to say, I believe this is happening because I'm having the inappropriate conversations with the wrong people. How many of you wrote that one down? How many of you are writing down the reason this problem persists or the reason I run into this is because I and the people around me are not having the appropriate conversations with the appropriate people? Most of them, and I like the way Drew said it, the attributions or where we kind of locate the source of it is in them, in it, in some dispositional characteristic or quality of people. I liked your word, the drive kind of thing. People, well, they don't have the drive or they don't have the intention or something about them is missing, that if that was there, I wouldn't be having that issue. So any of you have that the reason that issue is around you in particular has to do with your communication or your conversation or the nature of the relationship you've created out of your conversations or communications? Probably not, because we almost never look there, right? I mean, come on. That's not the place where we're going to look. So you have a second part to that, right? The consequences of it. And where did you, I don't have that one up on the board here. Where did you come out? So the first one is what? Frustration. So where are you on frustration? Frequently. And the next one is what? Annoyed. Any of you annoyed? I wasn't annoyed until you started talking about this and bringing it all back. It's just, come on, I thought we were going to do something fun. So annoyed is where? 3, 4, 5? 4, frequently kind of thing. And then what's the next one? Resentful. Now resentful may not be a general, there may be particular people of whom you're resentful. They're the ones. It's kind of like the difficult person. I really resent the difficult person kind of thing. So you may not resent widely, but I'm curious, where did resentful come out? Seldom. It would be consistent with that kind of idea, right? That there's only a few people I'm resentful of. And then the next one on there, disengaged. How are you on disengaged? This is a tough one because I think it's a tough one to answer because I don't think any of us think we're disengaged. But I'm curious where you all came out as disengaged. Seldom? Seldom. Yeah, most of us are not going to say, yeah, I'm a 4 or a 5. I'm just going in and hanging out, But it'd be very interesting to really look to see, it's hard for us to see the extent to which we've disengaged from people, the things we're avoiding, the things we're staying away from, the things we no longer do, things we no longer want to even talk about. All those are things of disengagement. We've just kind of pulled away from certain things. The next one is what? Resignation. How'd you do on resignation? Seldom. Well, that's, again, I'd have you consider resignation's way up there. But here's the thing about resignation. It's kind of like once you get used to resignation, that's just the way it is, and I'm no longer resigned. It's just that's the way it is. Like, yeah, I've been on diets for a long time, but this is not how I weigh. I'm fine. No, you're completely resigned. You're ever going to lose the weight, but it doesn't occur for you that way. Resignation's a really tough one for people to see because it's, again, it's like disengagement and withdrawal from areas. And is there another one on there? Very good. Lack of trust, blaming, and criticizing. How are we on that one? Frequently on the lack of trust? Yeah, it's kind of gets tough, doesn't it? I don't know if you're telling me the truth or not. What did you say about the why? the thing I wanted for you to begin to consider, and again, the proposition is that those are a function of the working relationship with which, or that you have with people, and that all those are alterable in the types of conversations that you have. Now, does that mean you will never ever be frustrated or resentful again? No. You will be frustrated and you'll be annoyed and you'll be, all those things will all be there. But the nature of the conversation that you have under those circumstances that allows that to be in a way that works becomes available. So that's part of the issue that we're looking at, is conversations that build the relationship and get results in all those areas, ultimately to build an effective working relationship. And so the idea behind this is for you to begin to see communication, even though everybody knows communication is important, you notice we rarely say that that's the source of what's going on. Rarely do we say that. Or we might say, you know, as Elizabeth said, hey, I have good communication with my boss, but I don't know what good communication is. Or if I say I have poor communication with Susan, I don't know what that is. And that's what we want to begin to look at.